All right, everybody, welcome into the Fifth Dimension podcast. Just a little intro for today's show. I was joined by my brother Anthony Schneider. I've had more talks with Tony, whether it's on or off the podcast, that were deep, spiritually rooted, philosophical in nature, really more so than anybody else. And we just kept the conversation going and looking at what's next. I feel like me personally, I know Anthony as well. We're both in periods of transition, transformation, and I think the collective at large is very much in that space as well. So we're looking at what's next, setting intentions, uh, honoring the callings within the heart to create something that is more beautiful, resonant, and ultimately in alignment with the soul. So this is a fantastic conversation. We didn't even really prep at all. We just said, hey, let's hop on here and let's do it. Set that intention for what's next. And I think we made some magic happen. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one as much as I did. If you're a fan of the show, subscribe, whatever platform you are on. You can also subscribe at my Substack, McDermod.substack.com, McDermod.substack.com. I want to thank everybody who submitted a poem for Seasons of Becoming. It is officially off for publication, so stay tuned as the announcements for when the poetry collection will be coming out surely will be made here on the podcast. And with a little bit more time opening up, I do have time for consultation. So if you're interested in working with me one-on-one spiritual consultation, the details of that will be in the episode show notes below. Just click the link and we can work one-on-one and talk about a lot of the concepts that we're talking about here on this show and many others. I believe it is important to seek others and open up to the perspectives others have. The spiritual path and awakening to who we are. We all have our own blind spots. We can only do so much on our own. So if you're interested, link is in the episode show notes below. Let's jump into the podcast with Anthony Schneider. Enjoy. Recording in
I
progress.
think that means something.
Everybody, welcome to the Fifth Dimension, a new chapter of the Fifth Dimension, episode 301.
Oh, yeah?
Yep, yep.
Almost made the 300 mark.
I know, hey, the first guest once we've hit past 300.
Hey, I love it.
Anthony Schneider, my brother. We've been meaning to do another one for a while.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So it's good to.
Always
You're
an
like
honor.
you're as much of the podcast as I am at this point.
Well,
So it's
you don't know what that means to me.
even if you're not physically present, the influence very much real and there. So
I appreciate that.
oh yeah. Well, dude, we're in quite the phase of the journey.
Yeah, man. Definitely.
It's fascinating. We've been planning a little bit how to go about this conversation, and I think we're really just focusing on what's next, the next steps of the journey, because we're in a period of transition, navigation. I don't know. We've been hit with different levels of experience, chaos. Whoa, didn't expect this, didn't expect that.
A lot of side quests.
Yep. It's been a couple weeks of side quests. Yep. So I don't know. How do you think we should start? Where should we go? Where should we journey into?
I liked what you said when you talked about what's next. I mean, you just got done with a great book of your own, a poem book, a poetry book, that I'm so excited to hold. Yeah. I was privileged enough to see the ebook, so thank you on that too. But everybody's going to be blown away by the first poem, let alone all of them. It was great. But just you hit the nail on the head. Like, we're always transforming and we're always growing. And there's always things that come in positive or negative ways, but we're always having to cycle through that and filter through that. I mean, no difference from your profession right now to what we're creating together next door to, my own life. We're always transforming and growing and moving. So I think that's a great start.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting, man, because we were talking about, I just finished the poetry book, just did episode 300 of the podcast, have all these milestones, have all these
Great
reasons,
accomplishment.
great
Yeah.
accomplishments. It's
Yeah.
like the seeds of past manifestations, I think, are starting to bear fruit,
Yep.
which is pretty nice. And then the second I start talking about celebrating them, for all the listeners in context, I just had to have a appendicitis removed, or what is it? Appendix removed,
Acute appendicitis.
acute
Yeah.
appendicitis.
Yeah.
If
I
you,
took him there. Haha.
yeah, he drove me over to the hospital out in a couple hours away.
Not by his choice, so he was trying to do it all by himself.
Thug it out, thug it out. Thanks to my mom for talking me into
Yeah.
going.
Thank you.
I didn't want to.
Yeah.
Literally the second I started basking in the celebration of all the past manifestations, it's like, nope, sorry, you're gonna be in crippling pain for a little
Some
bit.
people call that God smack you. Yeah.
Yeah, life.
Look what happens.
Let me humble you a
Yeah.
little bit. And if anybody goes back and listens to 300, I haven't published it at the time we're recording this. It will be published by the time this goes up, obviously. If you go and listen to the intro and the outro, that is me speaking 2 hours before I checked myself into the hospital.
So
So
has
I
it
was,
some energies there where you can tell, like,
yeah,
maybe that's not purely Evan.
I was sitting there in crippling pain recording that intro and outro. So, because I'm like, I got to get this
Oh, I
done.
gotta get it done.
What if I die? I got to get my episode with Kevin out there, you know?
That's a soldier right there.
So
Soldier for the cause.
you can go in and you can see, oh, Evan might be, go back and listen to that intro and outro. You'd be like, oh, Evan was in some pain there.
That's funny,
But
man.
it's fun. It's funny to like just the journey and what it brings is just constant. Like, you know, and you can't predict it. And there's going to be chaos and there's going to, because I'm at a point personally where I have so much to be grateful for and
Yep.
celebrate, and there's so much beauty. And then life will throw that little like that little wrench at you to like
Yeah.
kind of test your
To see how strong your machine, how your
yeah.
character, your foundation is, you know.
It's like, are you still gonna hold that space of gratitude?
Yeah.
You still gonna hold that space of reverence? Still gonna bask in the beauties of what you're doing? You know?
We got to get tested, you know.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes we're not willing to or even want to, but when we're all done, you know, it's like the blacksmith's forge, you know, when we're done with that tampering, that testing, that heat, you know, it only makes us stronger.
Oh
know,
yeah.
if we could have that feeling and fulfillment of what we get after the test, now before the test, so we knew that would happen. Oh, sure, we'd all be grateful and happy to be like, throw it on me, you know, I want all of it. But that's just something, you know, we're not built always like that. Sometimes people don't understand that ever, you know. So that's another thing to be grateful for, is the fact that we understand that these trials test us, and they let us grow, and they help us see the truth in things. So, you know, I am grateful for suffrage.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and that's something Kevin and I talked about. You'll like listening to that one.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Because he talked about his own journey in that, and it took years in his upbringing too, especially to like just be constantly hit with suffering and death around him, and
you can see that, you know. I like to think that about myself, is I can kind of feel out people's auras and stuff, and I can tell that Kevin's went through a journey a few times. You know, you can see it on him. He's just,
oh yeah, but he talked about the need for the hardship, the need for.
It kind of reminds me of like Indiana Jones. Like he's just,
yeah,
you know, he's just like, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like he's just, he would probably go on any exploration, man, a few words, but the words that he speaks are fucking so
powerful.
You know, it's I don't know the guy, but
I feel that. No, for sure. Oh, it's the modern day, like, I think, warrior archetype in a lot of ways.
That's good.
I think that, and well, and I remember that book I gave you a long time ago. It's the King, Warrior, Magician, and Lover, and like the four dominant archetypal personalities. And I think you need to consistently have each one tested and each one refined, you know, each one put to the forge.
After I read that, I probably read it another half time with things that I wanted to, but I read it very thoroughly the first time. I'm just like, boom. Right?
Yeah.
It took me like 4 or 5 days, and that's like, I could have read that book in one sitting, you know, myself. But anyways, it was so neat to see now, you know, it's been 3 years probably since I've read it, and the changes of each archetype going through the cycle, but it's always a continuous cycle. And sometimes the cycle will change in the middle of a cycle and jump to but it's always like that. It's very, very well thought about and put together as far as archetypes, you know what I mean? Like, cause that's experience, and that's a lot of what I go through every day. So it's really neat, interesting, you know, to see. And then how it relates to like my family and stuff or my friends and like how what their roles play. I'm like,
Dude,
how did they guess this? How did
I
they figure this out?
think it speaks to the experience of when you're living in alignment with the soul
Yeah,
more so than even just like,
that makes sense.
you know, more so than even this is the human experience. There's a baseline human
Hmm.
experience and that's archetypal and if you can tap into it, but like when you start resonating at a soul level,
Yeah.
all those like
Things become intertwined almost. And then but then that jumps to that's a good reference for people to understand source.
hmm
You know, because if we're able to have those same type of archetypes, those experiences, those cycles, whatever you want to call them, how are we all having them together? Like, what, you know?
hmm
So that has to come from somewhere. It doesn't come from one different point of each of us. I mean,
it comes from a unified field and that
collective,
we're
yes, yep.
yeah, and a collective consciousness, which is the source of all that is.
There you go.
And we can all,
Love it.
yeah, we can all tap into that.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it.
And that's what we're doing. You
Yeah,
know.
that's what we're doing right here.
Yeah.
That's what the listeners are doing
Yeah.
right here.
Yeah. See.
But and it's cool to like kind of continually come back to those concepts though to kind of reframe what is next because there isn't like an end point, you
No.
know? I think for me having to take a step back and like do nothing but put my feet up and
Mhm.
heal and you know, I'm at a point where I can't work on the poetry book because the poetry book is
It's
done.
done. Yeah. Unless you wanted to create a new one. And
Yeah, which I, you know, I'm
I'm
sure
sure you will,
there
but
will be
you don't
another
need to
one.
just crank them out one after another either, though. You know.
So it's like this like physical healing had to
Mhm.
take place at a time where, well, I've already done a lot of my creative and spiritual work. Now you got to sit back and reflect and you got to
Yes.
hone in on the journey. You got to look at what's next. You know, celebrate and bask in the beauties of what you've done,
What you are now.
what
Yeah.
I am now, and I
Yeah.
can sit back and see who I was even a month ago
Um,
and kind of compare it to now. And it's like, wow, not two totally different people, but
but still, you can recognize the things that you've worked on, the things that have grown, the things that have changed. There's a lot of different aspects that
mhm,
even a month ago can change. You know,
right.
can be different. So.
And then you can also hone in on like, all right, so I've made these changes. What else needs to
Mhm.
change? How can I continue to refine this process and continue to be in the forge?
Yeah.
Because it's not
The-
once you think you've made it, that's when you stagnate.
Yes, and that's one thing, you know. I was talking to you about this before, when we were having our reading, but something was just brought to my attention about, you know, Carl Jung talking about, you know, when somebody has their spiritual awakening or their awakening for that matter, seeing the truth for what it is. You're supposed to, you know, maybe think everything's going to come to you and all this abundance and all this growth and all this change and all these things. And I think for a moment it does, in a sense, you know, it
Yeah,
aligns you into that frequency, but then you become very like alone in a sense because you see things a lot clearer and a lot differently than what you normally did. So you're like,
yeah,
that's not fulfilling anymore. That's boring, or I don't want to do it, you know, and then you're like, well, what do I do now? You know, and
hmm
that's where you begin to realize that, well, if you're seeing that way, if you're living that way, that's time for you to create now. Create the things that make you whole, make you complete, make you chase the light, make you want to, you know, help other people, whatever that is. That's the time to start putting that because that's when you have the most drive. You find that passion because you're so true and you
yeah.
know it to be true, and then you follow suit. You just go.
You let it
Yeah.
find its own natural flow,
Yeah.
I think, too. And that's something we were talking about because it's like, well, I have this passion, I have this drive, I have this knowing, I have
Mhm.
this truth.
Yep.
How do I bring, and this is, I think, a thing a lot of people struggle with.
Yep.
How do I bring almost an abstract spiritual knowing of something more or a passion
Hmm.
and create it and manifest it in a way that is physical and
Yes.
practical and actually an expression of it. And I think that's what the reflection process is about. I think that's what really honing in on the passion is all about.
Yes.
And I mean, like in the conversation I did with Kevin, obviously I'm going to reference it because I just
You
had
just
it.
had the podcast.
He
Yep.
was talking about his purpose and passion. It always came back to like martial arts and an
Yeah.
expression through fighting and that warrior archetype, right?
Yep.
And in that way, I guess it's not easy, but it's like, all right, there's the path.
Yeah.
Train and discipline
Yep.
and choice. but it's about those choices he had to make every single
Yes,
day.
and to also get there to be the martial art, to
Hmm.
know that's his passion.
To
It's
know
not
that's who he
because
is.
he could be good at a lot of different things. We can be good at a lot of different things, but usually, we know our passions. We
Yeah.
can feel we've had some experience to where we've maybe tried to divert this energy over here because we wanted to do this. And then maybe it just didn't work out the right way. Or maybe it's something even more than or less than, but it's still that direction. We know that that about yourself. If you had to literally just sit down and internalize that, you're going to figure out, even if it's, I like to help people.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then what does that look like? I like to build things. What does that look like? I like whatever that is, you have that internally inside of you. You just have to be okay with that.
Every single person has that light, that drive, that
Yes.
purpose.
All
Well, and I think a big thing though too is we can't just dip our toes in it. We
no.
kind of got to dive head first,
And that's what
you
kind
know?
of gets you away from continuing as you get almost scared, stagnant. Okay, I'll just keep my foot there. No, you need to be submerged because that's who you are. That's who you
Yeah.
want to be. That's who you already are.
Well, and I can even look at myself in a sense and like look at the past versions of myself to where it's like I'd
Mhm.
write poetry, but would I call myself a poet? And I'm gonna hold back on that title,
Okay.
because I didn't feel like I fully
Embraced it, maybe.
embraced
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
in a way,
Even though you had
even though I had the
the
book
skill, the
and I had
creativity, you
skills.
had all that,
Hmm.
that wasn't something you were like, I'm a poet.
I'm not gonna I didn't want to define my sense of identity,
Yes.
and that was almost like in a way, there's a like I understand the spiritual idea of not clinging to an identity or
Yeah,
not
man.
clinging to a role or this or that. But at some point, you also need to have this is where I think your ego is a gift, but it's also a curse. It's
Yep.
like you need to embrace the things that you're
Purposeful
that
with,
are
but
purposeful with and
yes.
you're good at and drive you and
But
bring
don't
about
let
the
them
passion.
define you.
Right. So you can call yourself a poet, but that doesn't mean that's all who you are, but you should still call yourself a poet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
People ask, what do you do? I'm like, I'm a dad,
Yeah.
but I have a lot of hats that I wear, or
Hmm.
I do a lot of different things actually. And if they want to be entertained and they ask, oh yeah, what's that? Or if they're like, oh yeah, then I'll let them know, but I'm not going to just, there's a lot of things that I'm very passionate about that I try to do on a daily basis. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to hang my hat on one thing, like you being a poet, like I like to write poems. Do I embrace that? Not anywhere near that you do, but
Hmm.
but I still would like to say that I like to write poetry,
Well,
so
it's like it made me think of Jesus.
yeah,
Everybody
man.
thinks of Jesus. He's Jesus,
Yeah.
but Jesus was a
And then
carpenter.
they say that, yeah,
He's a
Jesus was a
carpenter.
carpenter. Yep.
He's a carpenter. If you ask Jesus, hey, what do you do? I'm a carpenter.
Yeah, I'm a carpenter, man. Oh, and do you do anything else? I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things I do else, but I'm a carpenter. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
He's
That's
not
how I feel. It's like I can tell you, yeah, I'm a carpenter. I build things, but then it's like, oh, do you do anything else? Yeah, a lot of
a
things.
lot of
But
different things.
what I've done the most is this, or what I've done, so
Right.
it's pretty interesting. But like you said, it goes back to ego, self-worth and acceptance and all that stuff. Do you feel enough for yourself or your peers or your society? That goes back to that ego. And that's not fair because everybody doesn't have this energy or this capability or whatever it is, but everybody is still just as important to the
And
collective, to the
everybody
whole.
has
Yeah,
capability in
man.
what they
You never
choose
know how
to.
good someone can be at something, or whatever it is. Not even good, maybe just so interested or so helpful, whatever it is.
Well,
So,
I think everybody could walk a unique path of self-mastery in some sense
oh man,
if they chose to commit to
definitely.
it.
And look at how many unique self paths those are just in our reality. That's a
Right?
lot of different. That's cool. That'd be,
There's 8 billion people.
imagine
That's
what that would do. Woo.
well, it would
Yeah.
uproot the paradigm
I think I'd do more.
well, but I think that's kind of what we're hoping to
Yeah.
create and build.
What we're doing now.
We walk our paths of self-mastery in our own way, and through doing that, you plant the seeds so others can start
Yeah,
to
man.
dabble in that
The residents of people like us, of beings like us that have that higher consciousness at times, or all whatever you might want to call it. We are making waves, so we are creating that bigger resonance of everybody kind of opening up a little. Just it's almost
Mhm.
2026. Like the whole set ways and stagnation of just thought, not even choice, of just thought, is so twisted and dulled down that it's like, come on, guys, you guys have a better imagination than this, don't you? And
Right.
that's what it ultimately boils down to, the imagination of, if you can imagine this thing, then why can't you imagine this?
Well, and imagination is what creates reality.
There you
That's what
go.
I've come to realize. It's like if
Yeah,
you can imagine yourself doing something, I mean, even like
any of it,
any of it, you even sit there and do like
anything.
imagine levitation.
Yeah.
We've seen videos of people,
I've seen
we've
him
seen
do it.
people levitate.
You know,
It's a
and
very
unless he is a very good CGI trickster, which it didn't look like it.
no.
It looked pretty real to me. And there's like a few other ones I've seen. So it's like they talked about doing it the same way. You know, that's another
Yeah.
topic for a podcast. But literally, dude was levitating. And I'm like, well, if you can do that, then what else can you do? You
Right.
know,
Well,
there's lots of
the
things.
imagination, I think, knows no bounds.
Oh,
And then what you can do is you can take your imagination. What is it that's actually like practical right there within your reach that you
mhm.
can just kind of go and create like with a, I don't know, lock in a little bit,
Yeah.
go in and create it.
Lock in a little bit. Yeah.
It's
You
not
do that, then that's when you start creating reality, you know.
right. Well, and
And I'm not saying you got to be like some magical wizard where you're creating whole realms and just like
right, yeah.
unicorns around you and stuff. But don't be surprised if the things that you imagine are created.
Well,
You know,
that's I don't think people realize their own creative
no,
potential, which is
that's one of the things that have held humanity down, is the fact that all of it's out there for them. They're just not able to imagine that they would not only understand it, let it in, all that stuff. So
it's more of a follower consciousness type
yeah,
of mentality where, well, and I think the issue is that, and I can see how this even impacted me in certain ways where you
yeah,
view life as something that happens to you versus
mhm.
something that you go and create. And there's going to be external circumstances. Obviously, I didn't choose to have my appendix
No,
rupture, be on the verge of rupture and
yep,
needing to go
no,
and get surgery. I wouldn't have chose that for my reality, but it
it
happened.
happened.
And so it's like, okay, I take what's given to me, but then from what's given to me, I go and I take those fruits or those seeds and I plant them and I create the reality that I want.
Yep,
It's not so much like I control everything, but I control what is controllable and let the uncontrollable be what it
that's
is.
all you can do.
That's really all we can do. And it sounds so simple, yet I understand why people make it complex
But,
in a way.
well, but
It's,
so when you're able to explain something so simple, right?
yeah.
And you're like, whoa, and you're having that almost epiphany moment of like, can it really be that simple? And then when you realize that it is, that strikes your ego very hard
Yeah.
when people are like, no,
That's all they say. No, they don't give a reason either. No, no, I can't do
no, that ain't happening. No, I
that.
can't do. I promise you, I promise my left leg that they would start off with no. No matter who you explain that to, that it was choice, that it was your literal choice of if you want to or not, they would deny it and make an excuse. Only because that's how it's so powerful and true.
Yeah.
Because if it was the truth to them, they would be like, "Oh yeah, I'm
Hmm.
great," but they don't know how to make that choice. So
Right.
then their ego kicks in, and they almost feel less because they're not able to discern that, understand that. Hey, it is a choice. It's a
Yeah.
choice to think, to create, to imagine, all that.
And it goes down to everything being a choice then too.
And
Our state of
then the
being.
bigger picture comes into what you're just saying now, the choice of understanding it all and accepting it all and being all. It's big. That's a
Yeah.
big thing. And a lot of people, when the infinity stares at you, it's scary. But that's when you don't try to figure that out. You just try to be a part of that.
Hmm.
And what your imagination lets you create.
Right. Well, you got to come to peace with it and flow with it, and and embrace your role.
Hmm.
I think as the creator,
Yep.
and accepting there because there's a responsibility once you recognize that
Definitely is.
everything is your choice.
Yep.
Because
Definitely is.
then you have to be responsible for every single choice you make.
Yes,
And that's that.
every single choice, man. That boils down to, if you're thinking the wrong thing, looking at somebody wrong, whatever it is, you're consciously aware of those choices, and then you literally pay the karmic price for them because you know what they are, and it's very difficult to explore experience because you're like, oh man, I can't think.
Yeah.
This is hard. Like I have
Hmm.
to do this, 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 this. I can't look here. I can't do that. It's very difficult because how this world's set up is for you to live that way, act that way, feel that way. And
Yeah.
you're like, oh,
And and you can forgive ignorance. Father, forgive them for they know not what they do. You know, it's almost like, but once you have that epiphany, like you were saying, and you get that karmic feedback, almost once you start becoming aware of it, it becomes faster and faster. You get
yeah.
hit with it almost
And then,
immediately.
and then it makes you wonder, how do they like keep going on? You know, they being people that aren't conscious of the things that they're doing or feeling. How do they continue to keep going?
Yeah.
It's wild. It blows
Yeah.
that, and that's another thing that I'm aware of. It's not that I'm not conscious of. I'm not perfect by any
Nobody
means.
is. Yeah.
I like to admit my mistakes only because then I'm aware of my mistakes and I can try to be better. But some people, they don't even put it in that perspective of mistakes or consciousness. They're just being that, and it's like, man,
Well, and it's like what
wake up.
yeah, it's like what
Sorry.
level of no, you're fine. What level of awareness do they have over their own
Mm-hmm.
level that their choices are what's
Yep.
impacting their reality? And I think when you get down to it, I think everybody knows.
Oh, they have to,
They
bro.
know if they go deep down
Yeah,
enough
they
in
have to.
reflection,
They have to.
they know, and that's that aching pit within people's
Well, if they're
stomach.
able to be what they are now,
Yeah,
anyone for that matter, you're able to be that.
yeah,
That's as simple as that. That's a choice.
yeah,
You're choosing to be what you are now.
yeah. And you can take life circumstances
That's
and
it.
blame them all you want. You can take,
But then that's your choice to do that.
right, exactly. And there's a level of like empathy and sympathy it can have. You know, it's not like you sit here and say
No,
these things and we feel like we're superior or feel that
no,
we're,
I'm one of the most, and so are you, one of the most
yeah,
compassionate people, empathetic people, the ones that we give everything to everyone. We try to help everyone. We try to be present for everybody, almost to our own detriment,
many times we
we
have been.
care, because we see how it should be, and we're trying so hard to just help and to highlight and to grow, and it's so sad to me.
Yeah.
That's what it really, I feel so bad that I'm
Well,
just like, I let people sometimes, I don't want to say take advantage of me, but take things that maybe I don't need at that time because I have more. But it's just, I look at them, I'm just like, man, I'll help you with anything, but like, you're not even trying to help yourself. Like,
and
not even at
the
all.
thing that, and I'm going to reference Kevin podcast again, my
Mhm.
favorite thing that he said in the whole podcast, and I'm going
Yeah.
to put this up as its own clip.
Okay.
He said there's a big difference between not giving a fuck and
Yep.
letting go.
Yep.
And a lot of times people confuse them. It's like somebody might look at you and they say, "Oh, you don't even care. You don't give a fuck." And you're like, "No, I care very
Yeah.
deeply, but I'm letting go because it's out of my control. People
See,
have
bro.
choices that they can make,
That's
and I'm
another,
going to be compassionate and I'm going to be open, but I'm not going to let it bring myself down,
that's
and I'm
another
not going to,
truth that you learned how to
yeah,
do though.
yeah,
When you are consciously choosing how to feel, how to be, how to act, and let this go, now you are able to let all these things, not all of them, but
yeah,
the things that you need to work on, you're letting go. They're not present anymore.
yeah,
You're like, you know what? That was a shitty time, but I don't even know what that energy feels like anymore
yeah,
because I let that go.
yeah,
Let's move. And then I moved on. So let's move on from that. You don't need to sit
exactly.
there and stagnant and stew and be stuck in a bad feeling.
Yeah. Well, I
That's
think
really
we
sad.
become addicted to it. We become
Imagine if you
addicted.
felt this way about your appendix forever.
Oh,
That'd be a horrible pain to live in, wouldn't it?
terrible.
Like,
But
no.
people do that with their emotions and
Yeah,
they do that with their spiritual
that's
pain.
crazy.
And it's easy because
Oh
I had a
man.
conversation with a guy a long time ago. His
Oh,
name was Gnu Roxwell. He's
okay.
a musician and a poet.
Yep.
And he gave me a great concept. He said, "Yeah, man, be careful when you're writing poetry not to pimp out your pain,
Yeah,
where you become addicted to writing about certain pains or
dude.
certain heartaches or whatever it may
The
be.
easy
And
thing to
that
do.
becomes the crux of your identity for your creative process because it's so familiar. And then instead of healing from it, you
You're
just ruminate
It's
and
like
you,
when you find a really sad song and you get stuck on it and you're like, you
yeah.
live there like, what you doing to me?
And
Like and it perpetuates,
it's
but
good to maybe hear it.
a release.
Yeah, you can hear it and then learn from it and you release it and let it go.
Surrender.
And it's the same thing with writing. I
Yeah,
write it out, surrender it. I
surrender.
let it go and I heal in that process through the
Yeah.
expression, but I don't need to I'm not going to become Evan McDermott, the heartbreak poet.
Yeah.
You know what I
I
mean?
get it. Yeah. No, you don't. You're not just one genre.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm not the melancholic
No.
poet. Writes about grief and
Yeah.
melancholy because that's all I've experienced. No, that's not what it's about.
No.
And so I think we need to accept that shit happens
Yep.
and it's fine. Like, I mean, maybe it's not always
Maybe,
fine.
no, and maybe it won't
Maybe
be
it won't
fine,
be fine for a little
but
bit.
it's gonna be fine in the end.
You need to choose to show up for yourself
Yeah.
regardless. It's like even with this appendicitis that we were
Yeah, it
talking about,
happened.
and I'm like,
Yes.
everybody goes into the hospital all sad and dreary and like it's the end of the
Yeah. You're
world.
gonna
Oh,
die. No.
I'm like, I'm gonna go in there. I'm gonna try and make people
To get this
smile.
done, I'm gonna be happy, healthy.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Like I'm
crack
gonna,
jokes.
yeah, great attitude.
I'm
Yep.
gonna show up. I'm gonna have fun. I remember being in the recovery room after the surgery, and I was a little like looped up on
Mhm.
whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't even remember what the nurse looked like,
Hmm.
but I remember her being in there, and I was just having such a good time. And I remember at one point she asked me a question, and I answered, and she brought me like I don't know if it was water. It was the first sip of water I
Yep.
had in like 10 hours, and I was
Yep.
so fucking
So
thirsty.
good. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is the best water I've ever had. I'm like, this is 10 out of 10 service. Like,
Yeah.
you're an angel.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
and you're just so serious, and she's like, I just
Yeah,
brought him.
yeah. But
What
I'm
did they give him?
like, but I'm like, I'm gonna really
That's
try
awesome.
and be grateful, and I'm gonna try and still express positivity.
Yeah.
But that was a conscious choice I made despite being in a
Circumstances and where you're
despite
at. Yeah.
physically suffering to
Yeah.
a level that I hadn't physically suffered in a long time,
Yep.
you
I
know?
like that.
And it's like we can't let this shit that happens
Yeah.
drag us down. And I think that's a good like kind of brings it full circle to like
Yeah.
what's next.
Yeah. I was just gonna say that.
It brings it full circle because it's like what's next. All right, anybody who's listening, they could be in any circumstance, whatever it is. They might
Yeah.
have shit popping off left and right. It's like, all right, what's next is for you to sit down with yourself, choose how you want to show up, and then do it. It's really that simple. And I think we're in that point too.
Only thing I'll add to that,
Yeah.
exactly just what you said, but when you sit down with yourself, turn that light on.
Yeah.
And then turn that light
Yeah.
on. Don't sit in the dark with yourself.
Turn the light.
Turn that light
Put
on.
a candle on.
Yeah, whatever that light looks like to you is what it, obviously not the light off your cell phone, probably that's not.
Well, yeah, a little blue
Well,
light
you know
might
what
not
I
be
mean.
great.
Like, just turn that light on, and then maybe that little small light, you see one thing that you're able to be aware of, you're conscious of, you're choosing to.
Yep. Well, and one of the meditations I've been doing recently, it's called Twin Heart Meditation for anybody who's interested in going looking it up. It's on YouTube, first thing that pops up.
Nice.
But at the end, and you've done it, at the end, it talks about like going inward and looking in your third eye
Yep.
and just seeing this like this golden flame radiating
Yeah.
right above your being and going out into the world. And I think we all have that inner flame within us. So it's like
Definitely.
recognizing the light and the fire inside of us that can reach
Ignite. It can
it reaches
grow,
others and we harness it within ourselves. And the more we actually feed that flame through devotion, through faith, through self-belief, right? It's like oxygen for it.
through imagination.
The imagination, that's right. And I think the more we feed it, the larger it grows, the more it roars inside of us.
Yes.
And so it's like
full it is.
You got to almost reconnect with that. And that's why I think when it's a what's next, it's like it's not about doing.
Mm-mm.
It's about being.
Yes.
Coming back to oneself, sitting within the heart, sitting within whatever emotions are there, owning it, embracing it, looking at it from a space of light and like non-judgment, being like, okay, here we are.
Yes.
Now who can I be? Not what can I do?
Being this magical being, who am I going to be?
Right. And that's a question that everybody has to answer, I think, in a lot of ways. I don't know, who are you going to be for what's next? Because we're both at a transition point, I think, in a lot of ways. Do you have intentions on where you see the path unfolding?
Yeah, I'm literally in that aspect of being the brightest light that I can be for everybody around me, for myself. Just creating, sacred vibes and contributing to the fifth dimension in my children's lives and my family's lives, and just connecting, to people and to places and to energies.
Yeah.
Just being more powerful. That's more aware, more imaginative,
I love it. And you know what? I love that you use the word powerful, because I think people are afraid of that word, power. And I think there's a difference between like the power that you see in like the external control systems and this world leader has power or this is power.
Definitely.
And people almost shy away from stepping into their own power because they don't want to be controlling.
That is one magical thing I do for myself is I empower myself on a
Yep.
daily. I mean,
Yep.
there's nothing, there's not a day that goes by I don't empower myself, and that hasn't been for a long time.
Yep.
And that's what kind of like what you were talking about to reference the flame inside of us, the fire, the light. That's what gets my fire, where it needs to be is I empower it. Sometimes it's burning low. Sometimes I need to rekindle it.
Yep. That's right. That's right. Well, and I think as long as you have that self-awareness to where it's like where your flame's at, you can take those steps and like,
Yes.
let me make the choice to sit down and empower myself first and then go from there. It's like I think especially if somebody who doesn't have, maybe they don't even have the awareness of their own light or their own purpose or their
Yeah.
own, anybody who's listening to this podcast might, I don't know, they're in the fifth dimension. They
Well,
must have some inkling.
and if they're in the first thing, if you don't have that light, go take your shoes off and walk in the grass.
Yeah.
How about start with that?
Yeah.
If you don't have a light that you can see, if you can't sit with yourself and choose that, that's all I can offer you.
Or
the only thing I can do is breathe.
As you're listening to this, close your eyes and envision it, feel the words more so than hear them. Make it a recognition more so than us even just offering words and insight and wisdom. We're offering, it's almost like the podcast serves as a meditation in that way.
Yeah, bro, because that's what I mean as far as like maybe people aren't understanding exactly what we're trying to describe, but if you just do the simple grounding yourself back to where you came from, it's almost like it's a reset, almost like it's a way for you to be like, oh, I wonder why I feel this way. It'll create your imagination. It'll help work that more too, because no different than when we were children, we would play outside. There's a reason why we always wanted to be outside.
Yep. Explorative.
And if I have to tell you that reason, then you might need to do some research.
Come back into yourself, find that childlike wonder and that innocence and that beauty.
Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting. You said the word reset.
Mm-hmm.
The great reset's a big term right now in the collective. I think we need a great reset of the individual spiritual awareness.
Man. They just try to
hijacking of terms.
They cast those spells out there and, like, no, reset's wonderful. Resetting back to the original or resetting back to your best or whatever the case is, you're just, it's a cleanse. It's a reset. It's, it's a purge. There's lots of words you can use, and some of them, their contexts are like, oh, you're going to kill us all? No, purge it out, get rid of it, leave it.
Exactly.
Let it go.
Well, I love the Ten of Swords and Tarot card, for example, and we drew that card.
Yeah, we drew that today. Yep.
And I think.
Did you like the reading, though? Most readings are a little bit more emotional.
Yeah.
This one was a lot more healing.
Yeah, healing.
It's like, because that's what would happen, let's say a sword cuts you, you would heal from that cut.
Right. Well, then you got to sit with it first. You got to recognize that it's there. Yeah. I had to look down at my stomach and
you're like, oh, whoa.
Look at my incisions. Oh, man. I won't pull up my shirt. I might get community guidelines. Yeah, strike on here. He looks too good.
Yeah. Now surprised that didn't happen when I had my shirt off. That can't put this.
Now we're speaking from ego. Yeah, that's all right. We're empowered. That's all it is. But I had to look down at it and be like, oh man, they cut me up. I feel that. But it's like when you have that that moment. I always view it as like baptism by fire. You know what I mean? I like that concept because the baptism, it's like the being reborn.
Yeah, it's part of the spiritual ritual thing,
I like the term baptism by fire because when you step directly into the flames, it's like, are you going to let them empower you, or are you going to like just let it
cook off all your impurities?
Right. Yeah, and you can step out of the flame. And it's like you're like the phoenix, that's why I love the myth of the phoenix and that story, because you are born anew. Like the fire dissolves away
from your own ashes.
And that's what it was and I talked about that in the poetry book. That was the analogy I made, the winter ashes into the spring renewal. It's like from the ashes of the past, can you step into the new and step into who you actually are, because it's like a lot of it is just shedding and getting rid of all
sometimes you got to like come out of the ashes a lot.
Yeah,
it's like, pretty soon you're gonna
back into the fire.
Pretty soon you won't have to go in the fire all the time,
right?
And then when you do have to, it's a cakewalk.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. And that's the
yeah,
concept of fire walk, I suppose.
yeah,
You do it
man.
enough times.
Yeah.
But I think it's a beautiful process to like have those death moments, those ego death moments where you totally have to leave who you think you are behind
Yeah.
and leave even what you've done behind. Like for me, poetry book is done. Obviously, I have publication stuff. I got other like work to
Hmm.
do on it, but like it's done. I kind of got to leave the creative process behind in a way.
Yeah.
Like that my creative identity was that for a little bit.
Yep.
Now it's not.
Yep.
Oh, how interesting. Who am I now? I don't know. I guess we got to go find
Go
out.
find out. That's the journey, the experience.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
beauty.
Yeah.
And so
You don't need to know sometimes.
no, I don't want to know.
No.
What do I need to know for? You know? And so I think
It'll be less fulfilling if you
well, if you're
know.
trying to map it
Yeah.
out and you're trying to
Yeah.
make a predictable path, because I mean, what fun is predictability?
It's like you pick a book up and you're like, look at the back, but it tells you the whole,
Yeah,
not just so not, a little bit. No, it tells you the whole
but
start to
yeah,
finish. You're like, oh, I don't need to read
it's
that.
like going to the Wikipedia page of a book and reading the whole
Yeah, man.
plot and reading
Yep.
what happens.
I've
Like,
seen my boys doing that with some of these YouTube videos. They have like description of movies, but it'll go through each major scene in probably like 15 minutes, and you know the whole movie. They're watching all these movies. I'm like, man, that sounds like that doesn't look very fun. So,
no, what's the point of the movie?
yeah, exactly.
What's the point of the book? What's the
Yeah,
point of the journey
yeah,
in that way? And so I think we got to embrace the unknown. We got to
yes,
embrace the fact that we have the answers, but we don't have the full context to the answer in a sense. You know what I mean?
So yeah, I think that we have all the answers, but we're not able to understand all the answers right now.
No, we
You know what I
don't,
mean?
but we don't need to.
No, exactly. And that's what the experience is for. Because
Yeah.
eventually, you'll start understanding more and more and more, like you already do. But you'll be able to implement them, and you'll just be raising your vibrations, your resonance, yourself, your light, your vibrations, whatever that is. When you understand that more, you just become more. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Well, and I
in
think,
this plane, for
yeah,
example.
well, and it follows the hero's journey in a lot of ways. And once you get to the end of the hero's journey, you take the elixir of truth that
Yep.
you become and you bring it back to the people who are around you.
Yes.
But then the hero's journey kind of starts again.
Then you got to keep going.
Then you got to keep going. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, now there's a new path of awakening.
Yeah.
There's a new path of
There's more.
exploration.
There's always more.
That's why they can make a sequel on every
Well,
movie.
there's more because there's infinite.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's when you can kind of reference that infinite aspect of what that means to you. Like, don't try to sit there and wrap your head around it, but know that there's always more out there. So be good with what you have because you know that there's always more.
Well, and we only stagnate when we lose touch with the infinite
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
We reach a pinnacle.
Yeah, because if
And
everything stagnated, it wouldn't ever recreate. It would never keep going. So it's
yeah,
like, no.
it's like when you climb a mountain and you're in a mountain range, you get to the top of the mountain. The next step is you look across the horizon, then you see a bigger peak. You're like, oh,
So now you got to climb down that one and go there.
yeah, let me climb up that one.
That's kind of experience. Now, just doing that for your whole life, I'm no knock to mountain climbers.
Oh,
Like,
right. That's an
man, you climbed like 6 of the tallest mountains in the world. Why would you even keep? Oh, it's fun. Well, it's
mm-hmm.
there's lots of things out there. It's infinite. So
Yep.
you just find that niche. You find that what drives you, and obviously you do that. But
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
it's always going to be a mountain to climb.
Always.
Always.
But that's the beauty of it, man.
Yes.
I love that. I love it. And I think I think we've reached an interesting peak, an interesting pinnacle. It's
Yeah.
hard to explain like exactly what it is, but I think it's more so with our state of being more
Mhm.
so than anything else. Because I'm at a point where I feel a deep sense of appreciation for myself,
Yeah. Most
a deep
definitely.
sense of appreciation for who I am. I think you've been at not that you've been at that point, but you've been guiding me in that path because you've walked that path before, right?
At times,
Yeah.
you are very unique. So it's
Well, we
except
all
for
are.
that picture you showed me. I got to tell him, he was showing me this picture of him getting a stick and poke tattoo when he was young.
This one, right?
And the moment he showed it, I was like, oh, that's me. And he kind of looks at it. He's like, yeah, it does kind of. And then I showed my mom. Then I showed my wife. And the only one that Chelsea was like, no, that's Evan. I know my brother. I'm like, well, but it was just neat. So yeah, I mean, yeah, of course I'm gonna help you as much as I can and be a guiding light, a guiding force, a brother to you for an infinite amount of times. So
Yeah.
this is just one of those times.
Yeah. Well, and we've reached a peak to where now we don't need to rest at the summit necessarily of the peak. And as soon as I started talking about the celebration of resting at the summit and embracing it, life hit me with the nope,
Yeah.
sorry, no, you
I
got
think
to
we need to make a foundation here at that peak. You know what I mean? Let's get solidified, and we're up here now. Let's do something with that, about that.
Yeah, and it's like, well, time to keep
It can
moving.
get windy up here a little bit.
Time to keep moving. Time to keep exploring.
Yes.
And it's like, all right, that's fine.
Because we can stay motivated on the peak too if we're creating a foundation. That's a lot still in motion. So,
well, we have a lot of beautiful creative ideas that are coming to fruition.
We're gonna definitely be bringing these to fruition, and then.
Well, and here's the thing: once we see it in the imagination,
Yep.
we have to live in the state that it is already done.
Gotcha.
Assume.
I like that.
Live in the assumption, the assurance that because we've seen it, it's done. And therefore, all that's next is time unfolding to the manifestation itself.
It's no different than hope. Just hope is described in the religious, spiritual sense, but assumption, that's the same. That's the same.
Yeah.
Energies. You're like,
That's
you
right.
just know.
You know.
How do you know? Well, I just know. Well, you're just assuming that. No, I just know. I don't know.
Maybe I am assuming, but my assumption is going to prove to be correct.
Yeah. Yep.
Because I've seen it, because I've lived it internally, and the external world it's just the unfolding of what already lives within.
Yeah.
For every single person, not just us.
Not just us.
But we still have that conscious control of my reality is going to manifest based on what I'm seeing and what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
Right. I see you got your tobacco ready.
Yeah, I think that was a good little initial start to our what's next type of thing, I think we're gonna be back here more. I did want to shout out Tranquil Desires and Picket Fence and Sacred Vibes.
Yes.
And if David Icke sees this, I would love for him to come have a conversation with us. That'd be awesome.
David, it's time. We gotta I reached out to I have like 4 different contact emails for David Icke. Yep. And I reached out to one of them and they didn't get back to me.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, maybe I should reach out to the other one. I don't know if he saw that one. So I'm gonna reach out to the other one. But
don't get me wrong, all of the guests on the Fifth Dimension are just as equally, if not amazing, than the next. But
now that we're speaking it into existence here, I think it's time for a part 2 with David Icke.
He's always an interesting character that I would love to listen.
We're always talking about him.
Yeah, that's why I showed.
We're always talking about him. Yeah. And I think where it's interesting because I felt like a little baby when I was on that podcast. You know what I mean? In terms of where I was in my own growth and development. Like, whoa, I'm talking to a master over here.
And I think he would give me some direction with Sacred Vibes too, which is kind of why I wanted to pick his brain a little. And he's very powerful with energy and with stones and crystals, and he knows that truth in there. So yeah. But
so David, it's time to enter the 5th dimension again. I think that about sums it up. We don't have much else.
Thank you very much once again for being on here.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks to all the listeners. This is fun to always just come in here. Dude, this flew by. We're already like wow. Fast.
Truth.
Resonates.
Yes, man.
Well, shout out to all the listeners. That's gonna wrap it up. We'll see y'all on the next time. Special thank you to my brother Anthony for coming on the 5th dimension once again. Obviously, it won't be the last time you see him on here. So if you're a fan of the show, be sure to subscribe whatever platform you are on. Head on over to Substack, McDermod.substack.com. And seasons will be coming soon. So stay tuned. My recovery is going pretty well. The pain, it's not totally subsided, but definitely feeling better than I have. It's been a week of at home and kind of hunkering down in hermit mode, if you will, and grinding on some of my other, just creative ideas and setting intentions and really entering into this period of transition myself. So I appreciate y'all being here. Do subscribe because we got a lot of great interviews and podcasts coming your way in the very near future. And I will see you all next time. So long.